You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. Great to be here speaking with you today. Looking forward to getting into our Cabral HouseCalls, where we answer our community's questions. We do this every weekend on Saturdays and Sundays. And these questions come in from people all around the world, just like you, who have questions on wellness, weight loss, anti-aging, and, as I say, everything in between. So, it's really my opportunity to try to share with people what I've seen through working with over now 250,000 people and just being able to study and research and intern all over the world. And that includes India and China and Sri Lanka and in Europe and in the United States. So just trying to, assimilate as much information as I can over the past, now 20 years or more, and pass that along to you, but do it in a way that's cohesive, that isn't disjointed. Because, a lot of times we say, someone will say, take this vitamin or do this program, whatever it might be, but it's not interconnected. And the reason why people aren't getting well, or if they get well or they lose the weight and it doesn't stick, is because there's no holistic viewpoint. It's not looking at the body in its totality. So, that's what we do as integrative health practitioners, and we try to bring together the best of everything. So, having said that, let's get into today's questions. The first one is quite a long one. So what I'm going to do is give you the shortened version of it, because in the interest of time, I want to be able to get in more questions on these house calls. This one came in on March 20th. We're now at, June 7th. So I'm catching up a little bit, but I do want to get a little closer so that maybe the questions are only a month or 6 weeks out. But, the more questions we get, the further it takes to answer them. But, that's okay. We're going to keep on keeping on. But if you want to get today's questions in full, really easy, just head on over to stephencabral.com/1219, and you'll be able to read this first question from Catherine. It says, Dr. Cabral, firstly, thanks for everything you do. I've learned so much from you. After my system crashed 4 years ago, you are my last port of call, and I'm currently on your CBO protocol, and I've done the HTMA, which is the hair tissue mineral analysis, the food sensitivity, and I've done calls with your coach. My next one is on the thyroid adrenal hormone, and I've signed up for your practice. The stakes for me, as for everyone, are very high, as I have 3 children and want to be full of life. You give me hope because you say if there's one person in a situation who's recovered, then you can too. I fully believe this and have never given up hope. The issue is that I've never seen anyone recover in my situation, and many other practitioners have told me it's too late for me, so I'm hoping that you can provide hope, as I've refused to believe them and keep plowing on. All right, let's go through now the symptoms. 42 years old, amenhorrea in early 20s while marathon running. Was told by a gynaecologist that it's fine and I would just save my eggs for later. I know I'm learning not to be angry with this. I spent my 20s and 30s on the pill, in my 30s doing IVF, went back to school for my master's, was doing endurance training, and finally my body gave up. I was put on bioidentical hormones and thyroid hormone and testosterone, estrogen. I've not done any endurance training for a few years. I do all the vata exercise that you're talking about. My nutrition is pretty perfect, Mediterranean diet. I use your daily nutritional support. Try to keep my mindset positive. I know I've really damaged my body and taxed it over the 20 years. Have you ever seen this before? I know much younger women recover from amenorrhea, but I have not seen anyone my age. Would it be better to just accept it and live my best life without chasing that ideal? Okay, so in this, I did not see, it says right now, I'm just going to look at this right now. I have 3 children I want to be full of life for. All right, so you already have 3 children. which is great. And there's nothing wrong with having 4 or 5 or 6 children if that's your goal. I just didn't get that in there. So I'm assuming that you want to get your menstrual cycle back because you would like to have another child. And you are only, I believe, 42 years old. Okay. So I don't know if that's the case. If that's the case, yes, you can. That's the thing, is that it's not that you can't at 42. And especially too, I mean, genetics matter in somewhat, right? But if you look at, let's say your mom went through menopause at, let's say, 51 years old. Well, then certainly you should be able to get back your cycle. And again, I don't know the right question to answer here because I don't know if you want to try to get pregnant at 42 years old. So here's what I want to tell you, though. Let's get your body back healthy, and then your menstrual cycle should return as long as you're still menstruating, right? So let's look at that. In order for us to do that, we need to run that thyroid adrenal hormone. That's the most important one, so you're running that next, which is great. We need to look at cortisol levels. We need to look at your estrogen levels, your progesterone levels, your DHEA levels. And then we'll look at your thyroid. It does matter, but that's going to come secondary. We'll look at your blood sugar and your vitamin D. So my goal is this. My goal with anyone and any female looking to get back their cycle is looking at lifestyle, supplementation, nutrition, parasympathetic nervous system, right? The de-stress protocol. I'm sure you've read my book, right? Because you're doing the tests, all those things. But the de-stress protocol is exactly what you need to follow, but more focused on releasing this anger, releasing this tenseness in your life, and breathing, relaxing, calming your nervous system, letting your body know that it's okay. And then we'll work on that with the nutrition, lots of good sleep, earlier to bed the better, and resetting your hormones naturally. We will have to, there's no way that we can really kind of get back your menstrual cycle in a normal way with you being on estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, and DHEA, right? So we need to get you back to a baseline. This is not going to happen overnight. I know I spent here's the thing. I started the podcast by saying that I'm only going to spend a couple minutes per question so I can get a lot in. But, my goal is to help people, and that's it. And I only know how to do this one way, and that's it. And that's to try to be people's last stop. That's the whole goal. And, that's what we hear every time in our practice. So here's what we need to do. We need to get your body back to a safe place. And that's how we help people and help women specifically get back their menstrual cycle. That's how we help men raise their testosterone levels naturally. And that's what we need to do for you. So, Catherine, I'll be reading your labs if I haven't already done that. I'm going to give you my recommendations, but don't think that it's just about supplements and just about food. It's about calming that sympathetic nervous system. And that could be more self-care, more meditation, more going for a walk, more self-improvement, personal growth-based reading and seminars and podcasts, etc. Okay, Catherine, you'll get there, but it's just not going to happen overnight. Not when it's been such a long time. I didn't get better overnight. Again, it shouldn't take anybody 10 years like it took me. But for people in your particular situation, I don't even want to put the nocebo effect in your head, right? But just letting you know what I've seen, about 6 months. But that's steady improvement. So again, I don't want to put that in your head because most people can get well somewhere within 6 to 12 weeks. Harder cases, 12 to 16 weeks. But someone that's, in a really burnt out state, 6 months and then continuing to improve, right? All right, Jason's up next. Hi, I've been a loyal listener for 2 years. Love your show. Have done the 14-day detox, feel great, read The Rain Barrel Effect. I have a nervous question though. My son, an active 14-year-old, has been initially diagnosed with paroxysmal kinesogenic dyskinesia. I believe in getting to the root cause, but all doctors recommend is drugs. Are you familiar with this? It looks like it targets a bunch of different areas of the brain and nerves. I'd really appreciate your thoughts of where to start. Thank you so much and love all your work. Jason. Thank you, Jason. And I am happy to actually help you with this particular question and start to look at more of that, root causal based level, because in my opinion, it really should not be based on just what the doctor gives you as a diagnosis, but really, what does this dis-ease name mean in the first place? So let's take a look at that. For those people that haven't heard of this particular dis-ease, we've talked about it on the podcast. We've just referred to it as PKD. So I just want to, again, I'll do a quick refresher here, and then I'll tell you how to help with this particular health issue. Okay, Jason, so to answer your question, with PKD, there is a genetic component to it, but there's a genetic component for most things. It doesn't mean that it needs to manifest. So I believe the gene that they're looking at right now, and I know they're looking at multiple genes with PKD, is something called PRRT2. Just stands for proline-rich transmembrane protein 2. And that shouldn't matter or mean too much to you. What I want to look at is why PKD started to set in. And what I look at specifically is this, is that oftentimes a virus, heavy metal, or toxicity can trigger it. It can turn it on. So it can also happen with methylation issues, which simply means typically lower levels of B vitamins, poor detoxification. And what we need to do then is look at what would be the causal factors. Would I recommend a Big 5 labs? Absolutely. That's what I would look at. And any serious-based conditions, running the Big 5, although an investment, will at least give you what is imbalanced in the body. We can't guarantee a cure for anything. We don't do that, right? We're not in the diagnostic, curing, treating business. That's what we reserve for what we call conventional medicine. What natural medicine is all about is looking for what are the underlying root causes. Can we rebalance those? And 99.9999999% of the time, we can. So we find the toxicity, we remove, right? Like, what if there's super high levels of copper, Jason? Like, what if there are? And we just don't know it. Well, it's not difficult for us to then use higher dosages of zinc for a shortened period of time to lower those levels of copper. Or what if there's very high levels of lead or mercury? We don't know. And so we need to test for those. So, again, you're welcome to do this with any doctor in the world. You're welcome to see if you have a functional medicine doctor or someone that will run these labs for you. You can look at what our Big 5 labs are. Again, you can work with anyone. My job is to get you the information. And, one thing I say too is it's always about the practitioner reading it, though. So just make sure you have a practitioner that knows how to really read these labs and develop protocols for you. Because a lot of times we have people run labs elsewhere, and then they say, oh, could you read these labs for me? Well, that's not really how it works. Sure, we can do that, but then you have to, sign up for consultations. When you get labs through equilibriumnutrition.com, you actually get my review, and you also get the consultation that comes along with it, along with your plan. So you're welcome to do that. And again, that's at equilibriumnutrition.com. But regardless, what I want you to do, Jason, the answer is look for those toxicities and look for just real deficiencies in B vitamins that you're not going to find on blood work, that you should run an organic acids test for. And I want you to look for, other things like lower levels of vitamin C and heavy metals, etc. So really important to look at that. Thank you for writing in. Taylor's up next. Hey, Dr. Cabral, thank you for your previous answer. My naturopath and I have found a regimen of B vitamins and magnesium that has more or less eliminated the tired and wired feeling. My question today is regarding coffee enemas. I did them daily for several months when my liver was very swollen. My liver has since recovered. I was recently advised to stop the enemas. Abdominal pain made me go back to my doctor. The doctor didn't seem fazed by the mention of my enemas, but the second doctor was adamantly against it. To wrap it up, I decided to stop, and it does seem that I had started to do more good than harm. Mood problems improved, and my need for CBD and turmeric seemed to decrease. However, I still feel the need to do a coffee enema about once a week as I get incredibly bloated, constipated, and feel fluid building up my abdomen. My question is, I usually expel hundreds of stones that look like corn, but no corn in the diet. For about a month while working with my naturopath, I was clear of these stones and still reducing my enema frequency. I'm now back to passing mildly disturbing number of whatever these were. I was curious as to what your take was on coffee enemas and what the stones may be. Have seen several theories and will ask my naturopath by the time we read this on the podcast. No worries. Thank you for your time and sharing your knowledge, Taylor. Okay, Taylor. So I'm a big believer in coffee enemas, and I've talked about that before, but not necessarily for ongoing coffee enemas or for the frequency. So here's the thing. high frequency used in natural cancer treatment-based modalities. So like, let's say you go to the Gerson Institute or some other natural cancer-based center. They could be doing coffee enemas 4, 5, 6 times a day, but that's because they're also trying to kill cancer cells and detoxify the body very quickly. But that doesn't last forever. I mean, they'll do that for a couple weeks, maybe a month or so, but then you cut down your frequency. In my practice, people might do it once or twice a week in the beginning, once a week for maybe a couple weeks, and then no longer after that. So our goal is detoxification up front and then allowing the body to take over. So keep in mind that coffee enemas are a supplement, and I'm a big advocate of supplement because they work really well, and they help your body out when it's under a big challenge. So again, like, could you do a coffee enema every quarter when you're doing our Equilibrium Nutrition Detox every 12 or something like that? Sure, absolutely, and it would work great. If you're doing the CBO protocol, could you do it? But don't do a coffee enema for constipation. That is not why to do a coffee enema. A coffee enema is for liver detoxification because it dilates the liver ducts, the bile ducts in the liver, and it allows you to produce more glutathione as transferase. It allows you to dump a lot of those toxins from the liver right in the intestines, and then, of course, into the toilet. And it's very quick and easy, about 15 minutes. So I'm a believer, and I've talked about this many times, so you can search it at stephencabral.com/podcast. Just type in coffee enema, and you'll find my podcast on that, on how to do it. It's also written about in the rain barrel effect, because I talk about a modern-day panchakama that you can do in an hour. So I'm a believer. Stone-wise, I don't know what you are passing, but I would like you to look up a podcast I did on a liver cleanse. It's an Ayurvedic cleanse. Andrea Moritz wrote a book on it called The Amazing and Gallbladder Cleanse. We give you a one-page cheat sheet on how to do it, and this will also help soften up a lot of that bile as well, because what you might be passing is hardened bile. So that's a possibility. So check out those shows as well. Thank you, Taylor, for writing in. Anonymous is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Absolutely. Oh, Taylor, one more thing I can't help but say. If you have constipation, run the organic acids test, run the stool test. You need to find out if there is SIBO, candida overgrowth, H. pylori, parasites, etc. Very important to run those so that you get to the underlying root cause of your constipation and not just try to treat it with enemas, etc. to get the bowels moving. Okay, so Anonymous is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Absolutely love your work. Discovered you via your Mind Pump interview last year. Thank you for all you do. I'm a relatively healthy woman in mid-20s. To my knowledge, I have no serious digestive issues or symptoms. However, my diet in the past included processed foods, alcohol consumption on a number of weekends in my early 20s, dairy, gluten, etc. My diet has changed a lot since then, and I consume primarily seasonal produce and wild-caught fish. Right now, I can either afford testing or purchase the CBO protocol. What should I do, or is there no need for either? Okay, so you have no serious digestive issues, but had issues in the past. Well, here's the thing. If you have no serious digestive issues, let's run the organic acids test. And the reason we do that is because maybe there are digestive issues, maybe there aren't. But the organic acids test is not just about that. So what it allows you to do is look at your mitochondrial levels. It looks at your neurotransmitter waste metabolites. It looks at your vitamin levels. That includes your B vitamins, vitamin C, CoQ10, biotin, N-acetylcysteine. It looks at your folate metabolism. So it's a pretty phenomenal test. I mean, it really is. It's not just about digestion. We use it a lot for digestion, but it's part of our starter kit, which gives you your vitamins on that test, and the hair tissue mineral analysis gives you all of your mineral levels as well. So I always recommend the starter kit if you can't do the big five. So in your case, since there's no real digestive issues, I recommend the lab. If someone could only afford one or the other and they had real digestive issues, then I'd recommend the CBO protocol plus the citracidal drops if you can't run a stool test. All right, thanks Anonymous for writing in. Tracy's up next. And Tracy's saying, hello, I have 2 questions. I asked this in the support group, but would love your personal input as well. I know cooking, frying in oil isn't ideal due to the oxidation, even coconut and avocado, if I'm correct. But would frying in ghee be okay? I'm trying to minimize cooking with fat, but I do love the taste for some of my meals and do not always want to make them cheat meals. I have a definite sensitivity to caffeine. I stopped. Oh, this is second question. All right, well, let's answer the first question first. So I've answered this a couple times. I'm happy to answer it today. Your saturated fats are not going to oxidize as easily. If you still cook them at a high heat for a long period of time, they will oxidize. But since the bonds are saturated, then in the molecular structure, they don't break down as easily, where polyunsaturated means many unsaturated bonds, and monounsaturated is one unsaturated bond. So polyunsaturated fats are the worst to cook with. That would be like a vegetable oil, like let's just say any vegetable oil, right? If it comes from a vegetable, then we're not going to fry with it, okay? Fish oils we wouldn't cook with. Hopefully, of course, you know that those should be cold processed. And then the monounsaturated fats would be let's say your avocado oil or your olive oil, right? So those could be on a light heat or medium heat, but really I say don't cook with those. If you need to, put them in a tomato-based sauce, which the antioxidants help with protection, or squeeze some lemon in there, or put some garlic in, and all of that helps protect it, like they did with my ancient relatives over in Italy and Portugal and, a lot of Europe. So, here's the deal though. Coconut oil and ghee or grass-fed butter are not going to oxidize as much. Same with like a lard or animal-based fat. But, the other thing is this, is if you love the taste of it, you could also just put it on afterwards, right? So if you wanted to, you could put the ghee on afterwards and it would just melt in. And then you wouldn't have to worry about any oxidation. Same with coconut oil. But here's the thing. If you love to cook in oil, just don't do it at a super high heat, and you can use your coconut oil or your grass-fed butter, or your ghee would be my preference if you're not vegan, simply because of the really amazing benefits that you can get with ghee. Okay. Number 2 is this. I have a sensitivity to caffeine. Stopped drinking coffee years ago and don't miss it. However, I wish I could reap the benefits of things like green tea, matcha, certain caffeinated South American, etc. However, even these make me feel weird and often tired, sometimes slightly dizzy, mild headache. What do you recommend to discover the cause of this? And should I stay away from green tea? I find it really helpful to drink when fasting to curb hunger, and wish I could occasionally have it as a pick-me-up. I've heard that causes can be genetic, which are obviously disappointing. Funnily enough, I have no issue drinking caffeinated drinks such as Coca-Cola or energy drinks, although I do keep my consumption to a minimum for other obvious reasons. Thank you so much. Okay, so Tracy, that little point at the end is you can drink caffeinated drinks if it's Coca-Cola or energy drinks. So that says, interesting. It's a tea or coffee, it's a bean that's the issue, or it's a leaf that's the issue. So to me, it sounds like, and you also said tired, which is the opposite of the drink, right? So here's the thing. Very well could be a lectin-based issue or an oxalate-based issue. So we need to look at, are there gut issues, or is the liver not doing its job as well as it should? We found both of those. So first, I just recommend, like plain and simple, do a 21-day detox. I mean, that's just straight out of the gates. You'll be healthier because of it, whether this has anything to do with the liver, meaning like your issues or not. Second, there's absolutely, if you run a genetic test, you'll be able to look at the gene to see if you're a slow oxidizer of caffeine or a fast oxidizer of caffeine. Fast oxidizers of caffeine don't typically have the same issues, but there's that. But I want to go back to one thing as well, because Jason wrote in about his son earlier. Jason, your son could also have food sensitivities, not just, so absolutely, I mean, that will show you in the big 5, but there could be issues with oxalates, salicylates, with lectins, definitely with food dyes. So make sure there's no food dyes, no MSG, because all of this can really turn on PKD. So just kind of flipping back to Jason's question for a moment, Tracy, yours could absolutely be the issue having to do with any lectins or oxalates or other byproducts in those. So there's that. Benefits though, like again, you can get benefits from drinking a white tea. So there'll be good antioxidant in that as well. And it's also that you don't need to drink tea to be healthy. You could also do green juices. I mean, there's so much other things that you could do. You don't have to just do any one thing, right? You can get antioxidants from many things, and you can get from a lot of those polyphenols from good quality olive oil, like we were just talking about, right? Non-cooked. You can get it from something like our daily fruit and vegetable blend, and eating good cruciferous-based vegetables on a daily basis. So there are so many other ways, and so hopefully that helps. We're going to keep it at that for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into another Cabral House Calls. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow answering more of our community's questions. Appreciate you tuning in. And as always, if this was helpful, please do feel free to share this with anyone you believe it could serve. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stevencabral.com/courses.